Today, we'll talk about finding easy setups with super order blocks. Today, you'll understand how to understand the market structures. We'll talk about everything: stop loss hunts, liquidity pools, smart money concepts, order blocks, optimal trade entry. Today will be the day you'll learn the secrets of pro traders, how to use multi-level targets. We have so much to cover. If you're ready, let's start. Welcome our free trading course. We only talk about price action trading strategies and smart money concepts. With this video, you'll learn how to become winner trader from a losing trader. If you are looking for a structured table of contents, I set it up for you. You can find it on Google Drive or directly from my website, which is in the description. It is important to watch videos in order to fully understand everything. Let's look at the charts and try to understand the price. Remember, if you understand the price, your trading world will change. It is all about the meaning. Notice this imbalance right here and the inducement. What happened after this interaction was that the price heavily filled up and created this insane breakout. It cleared all the liquidity formed above. This is actually how the chart patterns such as triangle pattern come to life. It is all about imbalance and liquidity, and created our premium and discount zone. What do I do here? I just read the price but nothing else. I do not think about trading yet. I only try to understand what happened here. Then I check for structures. You can notice the flip points in the discount zones and the imbalance and super order block. I have a simple mind. As long as this price is in the discount zone, I'll be looking for long structures. I get mails constantly about order blocks. People still asking about which order blocks to use. First of all, order blocks are everywhere. I can find 100 order blocks in a single chart. I developed some characteristics for higher quality order blocks, which I call them super order blocks. The first simple approach is the powerful movement after the order block. If it creates a new break like MSP or BOSS, it is an extremely powerful area for me. And if this happens with a couple of same colored candlesticks with a very quick movement, it is even better. Then you already know the drill, the imbalance. Next step is not mandatory. But with my backtesting, if the order block creates an engulfing pattern, it becomes a much more powerful supply or demand area. Another backtesting result: after powerful movement, if it pulls back slowly, it is an even better reaction zone. Key levels could be things like the previous day's low or high, important gaps, and similar stuff. And in my opinion, the first reaction is generally the strongest, but sometimes it can create equal lows or highs over the zone. Time will tell that. This is your simple guidance to find higher quality order blocks. Let's try to understand the price and how to choose right targets. Imagine that we never saw this part and we are just brainstorming. We have our flips and demand areas. Where do you think the price will go? First of all, this top swing high are runner liquidity, our final possible target. Below that, we can see internal liquidity areas where the price can be pulled to. Once you identify the liquidity, then start looking for imbalances. You can notice these imbalances close to other structures. Finally, are supply areas, the famous order blocks. Okay, this zone is our closest possible achievable target. If I take a long, I target this or use it to take a profit. But this is the first place that I will take an action for sure. Then above that, we have our second mid-level target zone. many structures collided with each other. At the top, there is my home runner. That zone is probably the hardest target to reach. I have no idea where the price will react. You'll never know that until the price reaches one of these zones. Let's continue brainstorming. Right at the EQ point, there is also a flip zone. Notice what happens here. A swing failure pattern with a market structure break. And notice the lovely imbalance right here. Let's imagine that you took this trade and stopped out. There is nothing wrong with this trade and stop loss. People keep emailing me about why I lost a trade or why this setup did not work. Guys, you have no mistake. Nothing wrong with you. This kind of losses are acceptable losses. Remember this. You cannot control the price. You can only control your risk. Later on, the price leaves this extremely high quality target above. Supply, equal highs, and imbalance. It pulls back to my initial and deepest demand. Then I take the entry without even going into lower time frames. I reduced my risk here. My risk is always dynamic. Since it was the weekend, I used the closest target to get out. Nothing complicated here. These are very simple trading methods. Let's talk about when we can take a short from the premium zones. At this point, the price is heavily supplied. Used both imbalances and hunted some internal liquidity and tapped each order block. Let's check the low time frame. First of all, notice the first supply OB zone. Do you see any structure shift here? No. This is why I always say this. You can identify hundreds of demand and supply zones, but you will have zero clue which one will work until the price reaches the zone and shows some reaction. Before looking for entries, I think about targets. Where can the price go? Here's my tip. Ask yourself 100 times daily. Where can the price go? Notice this clear equal lows below. And right above it, there is a giant imbalance. No brainer, this is a target that anyone can see. Price did not react to the first supply zone. What about the second one? Notice the structure shift right at this point. From now on, it is an easy trade. Price shifts, this leaves an imbalance behind with an order block. All of them also collided with the optimal trade entry. This is my sniper entry model. If you have so much free time, you will love this model. I cannot snipe the charts all the time because I am not at home all the time. So I combine casual entries and sniper entries from time to time. So let's sum it up. Let's take a quick look. Bitcoin is in a bullish trend and keeps making sharp movements above. Each time it makes new breaks and creates new premium and discount zones. It is mostly giving us long opportunities, but also short opportunities as well. It is all about demand and supply zones, and the structure shifts inside these zones. Once you observe the price, you'll notice that the same things keep happening every single day. Okay folks, this is it. This is how you fix your mistakes and move on. These are great trading strategies for scalpers and day traders. I hope you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you, please take care and see you soon.